So are we live?
Yeah, we are live.
Cool. So I think for starts, um, we should talk about what we're all drinking since this is a drunk departed episode. It's our only the first drunk episode we've ever done.
Yeah, this is. Yeah. And I think we've both probably had alcohol while doing
This is
the
like an
podcast, but
official, yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is the only one that I had a drink before we started too to try and
I'd say 50% of the episodes in the past, at least, I have like drank before or during
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
episode. It's just it wasn't labeled in the title of the episode.
Yeah.
I
But
remember
this
when I
one
came
I'm
on.
going hard.
I came on for the decade list, and I remember I was kind of plastered for
Yeah,
one
we
reason
we
or the
both
other.
drank before doing the decades list
I
episode.
was that's technically a drunk episode then because I was
Yeah,
we
I'm
were
pretty sure
rambling.
I was drunk during
I'm sure
that.
we were rambling on, so no difference today.
It's a movie
Yeah.
podcast, so it's it's gonna happen. But tonight we're really doing it. We're really drinking. So
Hell
I
yeah.
John, like tell everyone
Later we're
around
gonna
the
do each do
world what
keg
you're drinking.
stands. Yeah. So
I got a beer bong.
yeah, we're gonna do some beer bongs and keg stands a little bit. We'll do an intermission. Yeah. So this evening I am having Irish whiskey because of The Departed.
Yes.
I should also
Mm.
say, since it's such a long movie, I have it up on my TV right now, just on mute, just so I can kind of
Oh,
like
that's cool.
watch
You're
it
tuned
again.
in.
Perfect.
We should be doing that.
Yeah, I just have the subtitles on, so every few minutes I
Yeah.
just look up, see what's going on.
Awesome. I
Yeah,
love it. I love the enthusiasm.
It's like his own little commentary over there.
yeah, right, yeah.
It's like a
Well,
silent film.
it's way different watching it with these subtitles. It's still great.
And
Man
talking
fainting.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, get the fuck out of
And
here.
and that's what you've stuck to the to get the fuck out.
Yeah, I
That's
was
what you
reading
stuck to all
subtitles.
night is the Irish whiskey.
Yes, Irish whiskey and squirt. That is like my that's kind of like my go-to like a college. It feels like a college drink. Sometimes I like to feel like an adult and actually, you know, bitters and tonic or something,
Right.
in a cocktail, but sometimes I just want to be like in college again and just do soda and whiskey.
Squirt's yeah, Squirt's classical for college mix in. It's
Oh
almost a
yeah.
luxury in college.
It's a
Squirt
it's
and
a
everything goes together, right?
Squirt and
it
tequila is
does.
good.
Squirt tequila, squirt vodka, everything.
Yeah. I
I've
have
done
gin
squirt and
and whiskey right now, and I just mix it with squirt.
awesome. Oh, it goes with
Yeah.
gin too?
Sounds
Oh,
delicious.
anything. Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
So
well good to
that's
know.
my choice.
Yeah, and also did you when you watched it the other day, did you drink?
You know, I know you told me I should, and I didn't.
But you
I
didn't.
I took a couple edibles though, which was a interesting experience. I was just feeling like anxious about life stuff, so I was like, I don't know if I need alcohol right now. So, but it was still a very good experience. And now I am getting drunk and watching it on mute. So I feel
Yeah.
like it's almost the same
That's
experience.
cool, man. Either way, I don't care that you didn't drink. I mean, either way, I just
Don't
wanted
pressure
you
me.
to immerse more into the Departed. That's all.
Hmm.
But Jake and I have a real history of just drinking and watching this movie. I think we've been doing it for maybe 3 4 years now at this point because there's just one time where we watched it drunk and it was like the funnest time ever, and I will always remember that time. And so we always just try to do it again.
Yeah, that was an incredible watch, top tier of my life, really. But I wanted to ask you guys actually, because I distinctly remember when I first saw this movie when I was in high school, because I don't know if you guys did this or if you got as dirty as I did, but I was going down like the IMDb top 250 list because that was like my frame of reference for like these are the greatest movies. And
Been there. Yep.
yeah, exactly. And I had the only friend I had in high school who nerded out about movies, and we would go through the list together, and like at school the next day, just talk about what we had seen. And we were going through Fight Club, the Godfather movies, and eventually to Goodfellas. They're like, who's this Scorsese guy? Scroll down the list to like 40 through 50. You see The Departed. You see DiCaprio, Damon, Wahlberg, Nicholson, and you're like, I've never heard of this movie. And we watched it, and I swear at the time I thought it was the greatest film I'd ever seen. And to this day, I still think it's one of the greatest films I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like I don't. If you don't think it's like one of the best movies, in my opinion, like I heavily disagree. Yeah, like I put it up there with like when I think like Heat is one of the best movies and stuff like that, like or like Jurassic Park is one of the best movies. It's just, yeah, it's unfair. Yeah, exactly. And the more you see it, it's one of those where you could just watch it a million times and just continue to know more about it and just like have a better idea of how it's put together and just like the genius of that. Yeah.
Do you guys know
I
how
was
you
thinking right when I started watching it yesterday, rewatching it, I mean, this is the third time I'd seen it now, but I always know right from the get-go that okay, this is a good movie. This is gonna be a good movie, and it's cause it just starts out so confident. It reminds me of Goodfellas too, where just like there's that little narration in the background and the music, of course.
Yeah, it
So
starts
just, like,
out with like voiceover and then like an image, an unforgettable image.
yeah,
it's like stock
and
footage.
it's just like immediately like, oh, this is gonna be a good time.
Yeah, and I love. Yeah, it's so, and it's also just really like digestible. It's not only genius, but like there was one time we were on the way back from Hawaii, I think, and I really wanted to get back. I was like just so tired of being on a plane. I was just hating it, and so I was like, the easy way to get through like 4 hours is just to watch something that you love and is like fun and great every time. And so I just watched The Departed on a plane, and it was like it got me through that flight.
Nice.
I had it loaded up on my old iPod Touch back in high school. It'd be something I would just like scroll through different scenes. Like
Yeah,
I'd scroll through the microprocessor scene or the raid that happens later on, like at when Jack Nicholson, spoilers, get shot, and just do that in high school. And I would do that with like so many movies that feel kind of like it's like vignettes, which is a lot of Scorsese movies where you can just kind of jump in at any point, and that's just scenes feel like just so replayable in and of themselves. The same with Goodfellas, Casino, all of his movies.
Well, that's also why like it's maybe Marty's best TV movie. So like when you turn it on AMC or TNT,
cable.
Like when I tune in, I'm at like, I don't know, the Leo DiCaprio therapy scene. It always seems to be on that one, and then I end up like watching.
True.
I end up always watching towards like the theater scene, at the porn theater scene, where eventually Leo ends up following Damon out into the alleyways. And then I'm like, okay, well now and then usually I stop at that point when I'm watching on TV. Because then I'm like, all right, well then I would just end up watching another 2 hours or whatever this thing has left. And it is a movie. I think even though it is a good TV movie, I like just the, start to finish watch, a few drinks, maybe some weed edibles, as John mentioned, and like, just get really, really into it.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever answered the first
how'd
question.
you guys discover this movie?
No, well, we never said what we were drinking.
Oh, that too.
Oh yeah, that was only me. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just Hennessy 7-Up. That's really it.
Yeah, we're drinking Hennessy and 7-Up.
I had this beer earlier. It's called Blazed Orange. It's like a milkshake IPA. It's super heavy.
It's a Hot Butcher IPA, man. Exclusive.
It's just one of those you'd see at a craft beer festival.
I'm a big fan of milkshake IPAs. I actually like those
I
a
bought
lot.
bought two yesterday, and this is one of them. This is the better of them. Blaze Orange by Hot Butcher.
7%. It's pretty hefty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty
dang, yeah,
good.
those IPAs. Those are good like dessert beers.
Oh, for sure.
It's so sweet. Yeah, delicious.
Yeah, and so we're drinking Hennessy and 7-Up. I've drank it a lot before concerts.
7-Up left here.
In the past, it's a great just an up, but also hazy liquor to drink, and and obviously you're being more authentic culturally with your Irish whiskey, but I think this is still a good we got a good podcasting liquor going, and we drank some wine earlier and had some dinner. So, it's been a long preparation for Drunk Departed.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are really set for it. Yeah. That's this is all I got. I just did the Irish whiskey. That's my only like plus one there. But nice. I might also have to get another drink some point in the next.
Yeah, I mean that's the power of editing for during this episode.
Yeah. Well, then what your question then, Jake, was when did we first discover The Departed?
Yeah, just like, do you remember when you first watched it or how you came to it? Were you just a fan of Scorsese?
I remember when I first watched it because there was a point towards the end of high school where I was just wanting to watch a bunch of, like you said, like the IMDb 250, like these movies that I had heard people talk about so much. And my brother-in-law, sister's husband, he had just recently started dating my sister, and he had talked about how much he loved Goodfellas. And this sounds crazy to me, but I'm pretty sure this is real. That I was at Walmart and The Departed and Goodfellas were both in like the $5 movie bin,
the DVD bin,
And so I was just like looking through these DVDs, and I got both of them, and I was like, oh, I gotta see like both of these movies. They're both supposed to be so good. So then I remember probably in the same week I watched Goodfellas, which this Goodfellas DVD you had to flip halfway through. You had to flip it to the other side to watch the second half of the movie.
It's like so long.
Early DVD.
It's been a while. Yeah.
It's I don't even know if I have any other.
I used to have to do that for Lord of the Rings as a kid. That's the one experience I have with that.
Yeah, that's a throwback.
We had like our family had like the Titanic VHSs too, and there's like 4 of them.
There's 4.
There's like you have to watch like 45 minutes on each VHS or something, and then switch out.
Blockbuster. Blockbuster had that. It was like the 2 taper section. I remember, and it was all movies that were like 2.5 hours or more, and they'd all have like a shit ton of tapes. Like one day I'll watch those long epic movies. Yeah.
And that's my first experience with The Departed.
All right, I think it's good now to jump into the movie, into the very beginning, the beginning that John deemed as Goodfellas-esque, where we fade into a shadowy, dark Jack Nicholson walking through like a little I don't know, shop or of some sort, and the voiceover of not wanting to be a product of your environment. And then we jump into one of the longest intros in a movie before the actual opening credits start to roll. Like the amount we see from, first seeing Jack through this opening is ridiculous. The amount of information and character and just, character philosophy and, knowledge and stuff that's dropped on us in this amount of time is, it's one of the reasons why it makes it so watchable is that it just starts off so easily, and the opening is just done so well and packs in so much that the rest of the movie has so much more to unfold after that. We're introduced to maybe like 5 to 8 main characters, or something like that right off the bat. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's like 3.
That's true.
In the intro.
That's true. There's a big cast,
it's a triangle of the conflict going on. It spans probably years. Yeah, the intro spans like,
like,
because they go through police training.
They're
like Yeah, they're like maybe my age, like 24, and they're just in police academy, and it kind of just chronicles. Well, no, actually, Matt Damon's a child. It goes through like maybe 20
In the very
years, and then
beginning,
it goes.
yeah.
Well, and that opening part too with Matt Damon is like it is so keen on adding that layer to Damon's character for the rest of the movie, you know, and making him not just complete, you know, dumb scumbag policeman. Like there, you can see what was instilled in him as a kid, and like him being kind of a kid who grew up just not trusting the system, and how he ends up being that cog for Jack Nicholson. It just like creates an extra layer and interesting part to Damon's character, which over the years has become one of the more interesting things about the movie for me, for sure. When I would say at the beginning of watching this movie, it was like, you know, the more in your face stuff like Leo and like Jack Nicholson, you know, and
Matt Damon's performance is so nuanced.
Yeah.
And he's deeply flawed, but he has so much pathos because you see him being groomed from a child. And yet, you see his conflict, you know, not to jump ahead, but like he wants to get out of his life so bad. He wants to escape, but yet he has this bravado where he's like, I'm the shit. I've been untouchable since I was a child because this man's protecting me. He was like essentially groomed.
Yeah, he's not afraid of.
He's fantastic in the movie. Like, I think he's almost an underrated performance, in my opinion. I actually have a fun fact for who originally was going to play Matt Damon in the movie. I don't know if you guys have heard. But so Brad Pitt, I don't know if you noticed, he had like a producing credit on the movie.
Which is crazy.
Him and his partner Brad Pitt.
His production companies just
Plan
does
B.
such good work.
Plan B has produced so many great movies.
Yeah.
So he bought the rights to the Hong Kong film Infernal Affairs, which this movie is based on, which is a great movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's pretty much beat for beat The Departed, but a lot shorter, a lot more in the style of Hong Kong cinema. But Brad Pitt saw the movie. He's like, damn, this could be a really great American like crime drama. So he bought the rights for like $2 million. And obviously he intended to star in it, and he wanted to play Sullivan, the Matt Damon role. But then they wrote the script, and he was like, I might be a little too old for this role. Like, cause he's like 10 years older than Damon. He kind of has to be like a more youthful presence for that character. So he handed it off to Damon. But I would almost love to see Brad Pitt tackle like an Irish accent and sort of play a character that conflicted and almost straight, because like Brad Pitt usually plays the more oddball, zany characters that, you know, Matt Damon kind of plays opposite of. So I just found that interesting that those guys kind of intertwined for casting that movie.
I feel like Brad Pitt would have almost been too cool.
I think that's why
he's on the level of like Jack Nicholson, you know, like they're almost more equals, when I feel like Damon drops it a notch to where Jack can still tower over Damon in just charm and prestige and stature and all that stuff.
Pitt's not that vulnerable, especially at that time in his career.
Yeah, Pitt like I said Pitt, but Pitt has had so many moments of just like, you know, his characters is great because he doesn't give a fuck, you know, like in Ocean's 11 or something, trilogy, he's not scared of anybody. You can't believe anyone's his boss in those movies.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and I do have to point out the Boston accents in this too. You could tell. I feel like Matt Damon loved that he got to talk in that like.
Oh yeah, he really
Boston
got
accent.
to
back to his root.
Yeah,
he does. How do you guys feel about Jack's accent? Like it kind of floats in and out, where he's like,
it's so tough because Jack's voice is so
distinct.
It's so Jack's voice that for like for an accent as strong as a Boston accent to come out of that is just, it's almost tough to ask. I think, say, asking like Al Pacino to do something too with a very distinct voice would be almost the exact same thing.
It's funny you bring up Pacino, because that was Scorsese's number one choice to play Frank Costello, was Al Pacino. Wow. And Pacino passed because he's like, I've played 1 million crime lords in my life. I kind of want to just, I don't know, go work with Adam Sandler, because that's what he likes to do nowadays. De Niro, obviously he's like, I need an older crime boss. I'll call De Niro. De Niro, same answer. I've done this a million times. I'm bored. I also want to I want to do studio comedies and just
I want to do The Intern. Yeah.
Right. Do a Nancy Meyers movie. Yeah. And then he went to Jack, which is, I think the right choice for the role. And he made so much more of it than what it was. Originally, it was going to be a much smaller role in the context of the two rats. Like, it was very much just going to be more of a plot driven role, but he made it more just of a fully realized, lived in, just really one of the best performances I think he's ever given.
Yeah, Jack makes it so big. Like, he makes this character so big and heightened that, like, it really does feel like that the amount of conflict that is actually driving through him in this movie, you believe it's all real because of Jack's just, like, ability to, like, stare anyone in the face and not be afraid, like, he's just that's just his whole element, is just that he goes about what he does. As he says later, he's like, quiet is not what I do, or something like that to Damon when he asks him to lay low later. Yeah, so I love that opening scene in the grocery store with Jack and Damon's character, and he gives him all the food, and he asks him if he does well in school. And I love that, just asking people about school, that Frank Costello always has. It's just like an interesting thing. At one point, he says, yeah, I was good in school too. They call that a paradox.
He's educated, which is crazy. He could have went to Harvard for all we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really smart guy, and just right from the beginning, like I think you were talking about Jake, how you just see that he's like grooming Matt Damon like right away, and like becoming like this.
And he's literally seen like 30 years down the road too.
Yeah.
By doing that.
The scene that really gets
in the beginning, it does a really good job of getting you up to speed on who all these characters are, because there's a ton to keep track of, but I think it goes through it quickly, and you get all the information you need, and then and then you're off.
I mean, Jake and I have talked a lot about this being like Thelma Schumacher and Scorsese's like best edited film from an editing standpoint, like for sure, like just the way it moves and how precise it is. It's incredible.
It's so tight, and they take a lot of risks too. Like, there's a lot of weird inserts that just come out of nowhere that like are so jarring, just like a lot of weird flashes, and everything is so tight and precise, like you said, and just perfect on you can watch it a billion times and find new edits where you're like, whoa, I didn't see that before. And Thelma, and like they're so seasoned at what they do, and they're still like trying to learn and like find new ways to just edit a film together. And it's like, you see that with The Irishman, with what they did with that too. It's so admirable.
Yeah. Well, and John, John's been watching a lot of like Scorsese rock documentaries lately.
Rock docs.
The rock docs, yeah.
And I feel like the Scorsese like documentary style came out more in his narrative films, especially in the 90s, and like especially with like Goodfellas and Casino, and just having that quick like documentary like feel, and the editing being taken to a whole nother level. I feel like Departed just reaches like the peak after that like 90s run that he has. And it's just like really him and like Thelma Schumacher showing we know how to like cut a movie better than anyone alive. Like look at this thing.
It's just
incredible. Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite movies, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before. It's like a lot of like my favorite movies of all time, and from ones when I was a kid, are just really well cut, really amazingly paced, like Raimi Spider-Man type pacing,
Yeah, where it doesn't feel like 2.5 hours has gone by.
Like Toy Story 1, like what we were talking about, like it's incredible.
Yeah, Put Toy Story 1 and The Departed in the same conversation. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, one is 3 times as long.
Pretty close
Yes.
on the IMDb list. Those two movies.
Yeah, that's
Whatever.
true. That's true.
We mentioned Thelma. I also want to talk about the DP, Michael Ballhaus, because this was his last movie with Scorsese. And they did Goodfellas, After Hours, Last Temptation of Christ. They did so many great movies together. And I just he talk about a DP no one ever talks about, but him and Scorsese and just like how they frame stuff up and how it kind of works with the pace of Thelma Shoemaker. Like he knows camera movement's so crucial to keeping the pace up of a movie, and just the way they design every frame is like it's almost compared to other Scorsese movies. Like there's usually a lot of people saying Goodfellas and Casino in every shot. Like they really pack the frame with, the Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, De Niro, all the crew behind them. Like if you watch Departed, it's very much like it's like Jack, Leo and his therapist. Like they took a different approach.
One-on-one conversations.
It's very tight in that regard, and they keep it really minimal, and that's why it's so effective.
There's one scene like I always remember where like there's a great cinematography example. It's like when Alec Baldwin's big meeting room, there's just all these cuts and the camera's clearly like on a crane, like moving quickly around the table.
Yeah,
and it's like wow, like the amount of effort it took probably to do that, just for this one second of this whole thing, but it like for the rhythm and movement and intensity, cinematic quality of it, it's so.
The rhythmic,
it's perfection.
Yeah, it's so rhythmic and
that's just like this one little insert of this awesome crane, like just coming around, just around Alec Baldwin and Mark Wahlberg, just kind of like, announcing this microprocessor information.
Oh yeah, when they're like at odds and just kind of pans across really quick.
Yeah,
like,
it's like the first time like you see Wahlberg's character like be with the rest of the regular police, who's kind of like led by Baldwin, like not Dignam's department or whatever.
Martin Sheen,
Martin Sheen's department. He's like actually in the regular police force.
Yeah, they do a good job of making just a room of guys sitting around a table. They do a good job of making that look interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and while on top of that just being a hilarious scene, which I wanted to talk about more later, but I want to get through this intro.
We could skip scenes. We could just go to
but we haven't even gotten to like
there's a lot that happens.
Leo's character and at least we got to lay out like Jack's philosophy and like the philosophy of the film. He just has that one monologue where he's like, Neil, stand, and then the whole line of cops are criminals, what's the difference, blah blah blah. That's the thesis of the movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of Leo had obviously worked with Marty. Like this was their third collaboration, right? Like Gangs, Aviator. I think this was their third.
Yep.
But
third.
When Brad Pitt bought the rights to the script and was like, we're going to make this movie, he had someone pretty crazy in mind for Leo's role. And I personally think would have been not a more interesting choice, but definitely a stunt cast. Could you imagine Tom Cruise as Billy Costigan as an undercover Irish cop who is addicted to painkillers?
It'd just be too old.
He might have been. Yeah. I mean, Leo's character. They don't really ever say his age because like he's been through a lot of shit and like maybe he went back to school, so they didn't really. It was pretty ambiguous.
He still does seem young and innocent to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Which,
maybe that's
Tom
why
Cruise wouldn't be so much. Yeah.
Right.
But they're also
that's why he didn't get the part.
Like that at the same height of movie stardom, to where it is ridiculous to believe that they're going through as much as they're going through. Which I think makes Leo's performance like seem that much better. The fact that he pulls off this role so well.
Mm-hmm.
I also just think seeing Tom go back and forth with Jack again, just because they did it so well in A Few Good Men, I think that's why they were like, maybe Tom.
Yeah.
No other young actors could go toe to toe with Jack. Maybe Tom's the guy. And Tom's probably like, no, I got to make Mission Impossible 3. He's got a million other things. I just thought that was crazy that Cruise and Leo
I just
sometimes
worked with Spielberg twice.
Yeah.
It'd be absurd if I worked with Scorsese now.
Yeah, Color of Money. It'd be part 2.
It is crazy though. Like you feel like the most famous people ever are in this movie already, but then there's all the other like insanely famous people that were almost in it too.
We're up for it.
Mm-hmm. So
so then we get introduced to Leo's
intro?
Character. The intro is still going. So then it literally cuts to 20 years later where Damon's like training, like all after just learning the ways from Jack. All of a sudden, Damon's a man training to be a police officer, and it's so effective watching him like going through all this discipline and oath after just being like basically. I don't know, just manipulated and like just taking up this like really fuck the system philosophy with Jack. And he's like the fact that he's basically doing it for corruption and personal benefit is his whole reason for it, but that he has kind of an intelligent way of going about it. And then we meet Leo DiCaprio, and he's a hardworking young student. And he's trying to be a police officer, and then eventually we get to that first scene with Martin Sheen and Mark Wahlberg, where they meet both of these characters. First, kind of congratulate Matt Damon on moving up in the department this much to where he's a detective. Yeah. He
flirts with every woman in that office.
Well, yeah. So he starts off in the office space. Yeah, he's flirting. He's got a suit on. He's already like a high quality police detective.
It's so smart how they did that, where he's just like this wonderkind.
Yeah, he's
just
super
like untouchable.
He's like Jack with women. He's like Jack. He's confident. Probably learned that from Jack.
His father.
I also have to say I love Mark Wahlberg in this.
Yeah, it
Fantastic.
works.
So much.
It works.
Yeah. He's so perfect for it. He's such great like comic relief throughout the whole thing. But like in the scene where they're in like the boardroom and he's like and he has that moment with Baldwin where he's like, go fuck yourself. He's like, how's your mother doing? He's like, she's too busy fucking my father. Like,
I mean that exchange is just done so well. Like
it's like a screwball comedy. It's like so quick, and you're like,
you think that would be in like The Other Guys,
right?
Something like he'd be saying that to Will Ferrell, but no, this is in a Scorsese movie. Yeah,
the fact that that exchange just goes down so like nonchalantly, and then they like get back to whatever the agenda is at the meeting right after that is just it gets me every time. I think it's like the funniest thing.
But nothing happened. Yeah.
What's that line though that Mark Wahlberg that he says to Damon in the first meeting in the office? He's like, "We're the big shots now." What's
Wahlberg?
Wahlberg says it to
what
Damon.
Would he fucking do? Something really vulgar. I can't remember.
Yeah. It goes like
about a kid. Something about a young child pissing.
Yeah. He's like
really not worth quoting.
Martin Sheen goes like, if you work hard, you'll rise fast.
Like a 12-year-old's dick.
Yeah. Mark Wahlberg's like a 12-year-old.
And that's the end of the conversation.
It's fucking hilarious. It's just like the introduction to these two.
See, it's really authentic, these characters, but then on the other hand, they're so cartoonish, especially Mark Wahlberg's character.
It's so absurd.
Like it
such a,
toes the line.
Boston cop guy.
Yeah.
In the best way, though.
Wahlberg, he was the only one that got an Oscar nom for that movie, which is nuts.
And I think
the comedic
he's a
relief.
Purely comedic role too, for the most part. I think he's mostly there to be funny.
Yeah. He's great. Like, another person you can't imagine anyone else, but Ray Liotta was also considered for that role, which just, I don't know. I think Wahlberg kind of secured his place in the pantheon of The Departed.
Yeah, I think that would have worked too, but Wahlberg just owns it. Yeah,
Ray Liotta would have just been terrifying. Like, grizzly old Henry Hill.
I could see it though. I think it'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, it'd be funny in a completely different way, I think.
Yeah.
So then Leo,
Yeah.
he's in the office now, and we get the whole questioning of why he wants to be a police officer, and that's when that Boston accent you talk about comes in a lot, because you hear how Martin Sheen says co-op like a lot in this scene.
I think Leo's accent's really not good.
Yeah, I think so.
It's such a Hollywoodized Jordan Marsh.
I don't have any family.
He's fantastic.
I think Leo and for some reason Damon's sometimes bothered me because I felt like
because Damon's putting it on a lot.
He's so like articulate too, so he sounds like the most like obviously like Good Will Hunting. He's like a super smart guy, so it's like the same thing. Like he sounds like a smart guy that for some reason has this like blue collar Boston accent. Whereas like Mark Wahlberg, it's just totally him. Like that is him.
Yeah.
It's
he's putting it on a little extra, but like I get it. Yeah.
Wahlberg's like, always a little extra, so it's like perfect.
Yeah. You can tell Baldwin knows what he's doing, but
Baldwin does it really well. Like I think he gets like it feels pretty authentic to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like it's subtle enough with him too. It's not.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Top. Yeah. Yeah, you could do like a tier list of the Boston
accents, right?
Who did it best? So then, basically, they enlist Leo to be undercover in Dignam's unit.
Pretty much with no other option. It's like do that, or you're gonna die on the street, or your life's over.
Yeah,
it's pretty bleak.
He's really, Leo's character's introduced in a way as a man with nothing to lose, with no other options. And just the amount that Leo's character deals with throughout this is just so immense, and it makes his performance just that good for me, and like one of my classic favorite Leo performances for sure.
I love Leo in this movie too, but he falls into the Leo thing that's kind of, it's his acting style, but he's very much like, I need to show you how damaged I am and how much I go through. And that's partly the script. I'll give him that. But it is very like, it's a Hollywoodized version of trauma, which he's good. He's good in the movie. It's just like one little, especially in the therapy scene, it's like, whoa. He's putting it on a little thick.
It's like Oscar monologue, like
right,
like that guitar, like the Howard Shore's guitar, like starts coming in.
It feels like an Oscar.
All right, this is like an Oscar scene, but it is.
It's all good acting.
It's a really good Oscar scene.
It's good acting. Yeah,
I've always loved that scene.
It's good acting. It's just
and the way how it's intercut with him going with Mr. French, like, and then they just like burn a guy all of a sudden. It's like, it's just
Ray Winstone is so menacing. He's like an animal in this movie, literally. He's like his animal sidekick, like a dog, but he's incredibly good.
Yeah,
just the side characters have so much rich characters to play off of.
I love it. Eventually when Leo gets to the bar and Mr. French is introduced, like Leo's like clearly trying to discover the criminal underworld of Boston. He knows, he's really smart in
doing
how
his work.
He does the violent things, stupid things to know how to like.
You fellas from Providence?
Bring the nobody scene. Like speaking of which, we just did a soundtrack score episode. Departed is up there with one of the best soundtrack scores, and just so many classic.
Howard Shore.
Yeah, a lot of great. The great guitar score by Howard Shore, and also just the soundtrack. Needle
but also
drops.
The soundtrack.
Score
Shipping up to Boston.
And so, anyways, Mr. French is introduced, and
Mr. French.
He's like, "I'm the guy to tell you. There's a guy you hit, and there's a guy you don't hit." So you don't fucking hit him.
This is a guy you could almost hit.
Yeah, he's the almost guy you could hit. You could pretty much hit him.
He just punches that guy in the face like 5 times.
Yeah. He's like,
oh my God.
I'm just here to tell you, you can't hit him.
It's like a cartoon, man. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
and
It's the
and then
best.
he's like, well, what's Billy's dad's name again?
William Costigan Sr.
He's like,
Costigan.
it's William's
The
nephew, and
Costigans.
he just starts beating the shit out of the guy again. He like has that classic like
He's like a boxer.
3-hit, oh yeah, just
The
knockout.
Floyd Mayweather, yeah.
Yeah,
I was
And-
starting to
Love him.
wonder in real life how much leeway do like undercover cops get to like beat the shit out of people.
Right?
'Cause, yeah, because
I'm undercover, it's okay.
well, Leo is also though he is so, as we later hear, he is so like he's just so off the like record that it doesn't matter what he does. He is free to just do anything.
Right. His name's in a computer, on like one man's computer. They can
Yeah.
press delete.
And it's fucking
It's so
Mark Wahlberg's
fucked up.
computer where he says like, "I'll delete your. What if I just delete your file?"
Like, the
he's
amount
a
of-
dick to him.
No wonder he's addicted to pain
Ugh.
pills. It's so messed up. Oh man.
So coming up later is one of my favorite needle drops in The Departed, and it's when Leo is first introduced to Jack's character. And I feel like
You know
even
who
though
I
we've been
am.
the movie opens with Jack's character, we still like Jack is a big mystery to us. So
It's in the shadows.
yeah, so when like Leo, like when he comes up to Leo at the bar, I just feel like, all right, whoa, here he is, you know.
Mhm.
It's kind of like that, and the way he just, you know, the way Leo's trying to pretend like it's not this like most infamous
Like, yeah.
infamous criminal next to him. He's like, you know who I am? He's like, no,
That's where I love Leo in this movie. He's so confident in just
no,
he's threat of death like in every scene. He's like,
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah.
You know, who
Cranberry
I am?
juice.
And so then he takes Leo to the back. He's like, we're not asking, and they
I
start.
said he had a fucking problem.
They start to frisk Leo, and this become like, I really wanted to set this up because this is one of my favorite scenes, easily, especially on the last time I watched it. I was just like, this scene is so awesome when when Leo's first introduced to Jack. And I think this one song by the Rolling Stones plays in it.
Oh yeah.
Yes, this
Is it,
song Let It Loose by the Rolling Stones, which, you know, it's got this little pretty guitar riff in it, and
Classic Marty.
yeah, it's one of those where like Marty just doesn't only nail the scene, he's done
That's
it a
the
million
song.
times. He nails the scene and he nails the musical drop with it to perfection, and just like the insinuating violence along with that song and kind of Jack's monologue through this scene, like all his lines through the scene. It's just
It's so painful.
it's perfection, and just and as you were setting up that one line,
I said he had a fucking
yeah,
problem.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just that, like, that line makes me laugh so much now. Where he's like, I knew your father, that was his problem, and Leo's like, who said he had a problem? And Jack's just like, I just said he had a fucking problem. Like, it's just such a great character scene where you're like, this guy gets like offended. It's like Joe Pesci and
sensitive.
Goodfellas. It's Joe
Yeah.
Pesci and Goodfellas, like saying that, like, yo, you can say one thing and all of a sudden there's violence in this world. Like with Jack, it's like, if you don't think I can say what I want to you or anything, like like you don't tell me what I can say or not say.
Yeah. That's kind of and then that becomes like a theme throughout the whole thing is he gets very sensitive to
Mhm.
and, you know, if people think of him a certain way or try to he wants to prove that he's the smartest and the best.
Yeah.
Nobody can get anything past him.
Yeah.
That's what Jack brought to this role. Like, not all of that's in the script. It's like how he presents himself and how he says certain lines. You're like, this guy is so stunted because he's been at the top for so long, where he can't take criticism. He can't take any like sort of threat because he's so jaded. He's like, whatever, I'll get away with it somehow. I'm an FBI informant. I'm gonna be fine. I'm untouchable. And just he kind of plays it almost like he's bored a lot of the time. Like, he'll just do stuff. He says later, it's like, I don't need to fuck anymore. I don't need money anymore.
Mhm.
this is just my life.
Yeah, like
I just have to play it out because that's my life.
Yeah, he doesn't know
so
anything
good.
else.
That's so good.
And there's a point where Leo, and I think he says that after Leo like asks him like, why don't you just like hang it up, Jack, and like go live off your stuff? Why do you gotta keep doing this shit? Like it's obviously causing so much trouble and like you so much paranoia. And the fact that he doesn't know what else to do.
He like owns Boston. He controls the cops. He has a penthouse in like the tallest building, and he's still like running cocaine at the very end. And you're just like, damn, this guy.
Yeah.
It's just a lost soul.
And it's really just because there is so much corruption in this movie. Like it is basically like it doesn't feel ever like it's good versus bad, and it feels like the cops and the criminals are just at war. You know what I mean?
It's like a war
in a way that it doesn't like. I don't know. They're just in their own league. Basically.
Both fighting like a losing battle.
Yeah,
pretty much
for sure.
Yeah, everyone pretty much hates each other collectively in this movie. Yeah.
The only neutral person is like Vera Farmiga, the one female in the movie.
I know, this is such a mad movie.
Is. Yeah.
And then there's like Jack's like three. He has like.
It's like three
wives going on. They're just around, and he always has these goofy interactions with them.
All right. Well, then where do we go?
Well,
from
so Leo
there.
So then Leo gets like they break off Leo's cast, and this is where the scene reaches its high point, where Jack yells, "Are you still a cop?" And the Rolling Stones song is still playing, and Leo's just in tremendous pain, doing some of that Hollywood acting, as Jake mentioned. On just like that's kind of what Leo's always in this movie. He's always like anxious and like, like I'm in so much deep shit, like all the fucking time.
He does it well. He does it really well.
And Jack just goes like, "Are you gonna keep doing deals with your cokehead fucking cousin
Kevin Corrigan?"
Yeah, Kevin Corrigan, who's played well for the short time by Kevin Corrigan, who's in
sleazy ass coke dealer, I guess.
Yeah,
is his character.
Yeah,
Kevin Corrigan is always there. He just always shows up,
pops up in something.
He really does.
He fits in everything. Yeah,
yeah.
Comedies, Scorsese. He's in Goodfellas actually for a really brief.
Really?
He's like his brother in the wheelchair.
Oh yeah. He's like
fuck
stir the
outta
sauce.
here.
To Kevin Corrigan.
Corrigan's the man.
Yeah, that's cool.
He just shows up in everything, and he's always like a very similar character, but he still fits as that character in everything. Yeah.
And so then so Leo is basically at a point where he can join Jack's crew, and then we get more of like an inside look to Jack's life, where we see his big apartment penthouse. And he's talking to Mr. French, and Mr. French goes like, "I am reliable." He's like, "Who's reliable these days, Mr. French?" And Mr. French is like, I'm reliable."
There's 1 in 2 million.
Yeah, he's like 10. I think he says 10 million.
10 million.
He's like 1 in a million. He's like 10 million.
I think Jack Nicholson quotes the Beatles at one point, or John Lennon.
Well, yeah, later when he speaks to Leo, he's like,
Lennon said,
Lennon. Like, he was the president before Lincoln.
Yeah.
What a line.
Actually, there's on the Departed that I've got up right now is just also another great Jack line where he's talking with Mark Wahlberg and Martin Sheen, like by like the
my
harbor.
favorite scene. Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh yeah, what did your father call you?" "Oh, I forgot. He wasn't around." Like just trying to like zing him, like your dad wasn't around much.
That's one of those scenes where it's like executed just so well. Like they're just like so like
it's so childish.
Effortlessly giving these insults to each other.
"Why'd you wipe your ass for me?" or something. Yeah, it's just.
Would you like to wipe your ass for me?
I guess you like to go at your own pace. Like every single thing that he says to them is just so sarcastic. And,
so good.
"Oh, I forgot. He wasn't around."
It's like high schoolers like dissing each other.
Yeah, he's like a 60-year-old man talking about how this guy's dad wasn't around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all good with the drinks.
Let's get back into it.
So at this point, they're
So
Matt Damon.
Now we need to
climbing the ladder rapidly, and you could you assume it because of his charm and his fake front. But then he meets a gal named Madeline, played by Vera Farmiga. Then he starts building another life simultaneously. He has like 3 different fake lives pretty much happening at the same time, if you really think about it. And just adds another layer of just complexity and paranoia for his character. And he plays it so collectively. But then there's that scene when they have dinner. And do you remember there's a really meaningful quote that he says when the dessert comes that really sums up like his...
When he ends it. Yeah. Like at the end of the scene, all right, I know what it is. He says, I'll just start shooting and I'll just start arresting innocent people.
Right.
Yeah.
You want trouble.
He makes a joke like, he's like, I'll always have a job. I'll just start arresting innocent people. And she takes it as a joke, like, what an absurd thing to say. But he really means it, like he'll do whatever.
That really, defines his character. Yeah. I'll do it.
Yeah. And I love when he starts assembling his own crew, like that one police officer who we actually end up finding out is
he works for Costello.
He worked for Costello as well on the inside, and Damon's chewing gum, and he's like, maybe I could do something for you. Maybe I'll get you a job. You work under my unit.
Right. That's such a quick but just pivotal moment too.
Yeah,
you don't think anything of it.
He's clearly forming now his own crew of his own totem pole of the police department to where he's a higher up.
Corruption.
Yeah, which then does lead to be useful for him and Jack later on.
Mm-hmm. He gets access to their records, which is just nuts, and he can just call the shots on tailing people. Goddamn.
He's the lead, and he eventually, he becomes the leading guy.
He's
to find
pretty much
Jack. That's what his department is for.
Yeah.
So he's able to they have full control of this whole situation with what they got going on, and literally the only advantage that the Boston PD has is the fact that Leo's in the trenches, giving intel, getting closer to Costello.
He's always he's talking to a cop, and then he's on the 2 seconds later he's on the phone.
I think
a cop will walk up to him and say, "Oh, hang up."
Yeah, I think a great example of that is when they're doing that drug deal with the Chinese or whatever, and they've got cameras set up, and Matt Damon's on the phone with Jack, giving him signals that they're, the deal is being watched.
Yeah.
I think he says something
their own language.
Yeah.
I won't be home for supper.
Yeah.
Tell mom I'm sorry. Or something like that.
And then Martin Sheen's just looking directly at him, and Damon has to transition, and he's like, all right, the players, call the game. And Damon runs the whole thing and just announcing who everyone is in the crew and
you
stuff.
Don't know if Marty Sheen might know something.
No, I think
his performance
clearly shows that he knows it. He knows it's Damon, and I think Martin
he's
knows
you're
it's
up to
Damon
you're playing some side. I don't know what.
But they're just such a small section of the police department, one actually intelligent, suspicious section of the police department, and basically everyone else is a tenured idiot. Basically, is what it seems like. But that raid scene is also one of my favorites, just because of how it goes down, the way it's shot, and how tense it is. And
the score is pounding
and the language barrier and and watching Jack go back and forth between the translator and about the automatic weapons, and
he can't let it go. He keeps going on about it.
Yeah, it's in this country we do not do business deals with automatic weapons. He's it doesn't add inches to your dick. you get a life sentence for it.
Even though guys like, yeah, we can't say anything to this fucking
It's just
guy.
one of those where there's so many scenes where you like with Costello, where you're like, the way this man talks, he's like the most interesting criminal character I've ever seen. Sometimes in a movie.
At the same time, he's also wearing like a bucket hat and sunglasses, and
Yeah.
he just looks
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's like low key Frank Costello. I feel like
He's like he's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
a picnic or something afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. He almost looks like a private investigator trying to like hide himself.
Yeah,
Um,
and I love how with the tension, one in the fact that at the like I don't know whatever you call it, the behind the scenes police who are watching this business transaction go down, they're realizing they don't have a camera for the back, so this whole thing's fucked. Everyone's getting mad there, and also Frank Costello is continuing to argue with these guys he's trying to get by. Sell the microprocessors too, not buy them. Is he selling them?
He's selling them because
he's
stole
selling
them.
Microprocessors.
Somehow stole them from like a government facility.
And you're just
selling
hoping
them
that
to a foreign
everyone
country.
doesn't shoot each other up. Mixed with all
Yeah.
that tension back at the police department, realizing we fucked this whole thing up it's just another great scene.
yeah.
It's
And
also
Leo's
because
like
Leo,
freaking out too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like
texting Martin Sheen. Matt Damon plays that scene too when they're like, oh, they botched the raid. Alec Baldwin's freaking out, and then you cut to Matt Damon.
Damon's
he's
kind of
like
just like
fake rolling his eyes. He's like,
just
oh
like,
my god,
like, I can't believe
we botched the raid.
We had this,
When in fact he ruined like the entire raid.
Yeah,
and it's it's just oh man.
I mean, yeah, and I think it is too, because if it weren't for that camera guy, who fucked up, then Matt Damon would be like, all right, then why didn't this go right? It's because like Matt Damon would be exposed right there.
Yeah,
probably, and that's also a lot
Got
about
a
what
rat.
that scene is about. Is Matt Damon being like figured out, basically.
Did we talk about Leo's therapy session?
We kind of
touched
did.
on
I
it.
mean, like what you said about the in the business transaction scene where Leo's just dealing with a lot of pressure through that. A lot of this is just the fact that Leo's like dealing with violent just moments in front of him that are like driving him mad, and then he wants to get on Valium because his life is so fucked up.
It gets so bad where he's like, I have to block out everything so I could just focus on staying alive. It's like so primal. But then he's like begging her, he's like, give me some Valium. And he doesn't. He just throws a tantrums and like walks out. That is an Oscar real scene right there. That's like his character's fully coming out. Yeah,
it's not only like furious and angry and out of control, but it's just like also very smart.
Yeah.
And also just the fact that scene has like him with Mr. French going on
intertwined
jobs, and Mr. French just like wake the fuck up, because he gets hit in the face. Like the guy throws something ridiculous.
There's like a kid's toy at his
like
face.
a giant kid's
like
toy at his face.
And it also cut within that montage is when he meets Martin Sheen and Mark Wahlberg like under a bridge, and he's pretty much just begging them like, get me out of this, get me out of this.
Yeah.
And Mark Wahlberg, of course, is like, just man the fuck up, you pussy. And he's just kind of not
the way to treat him under the circumstances.
Still kind of funny scene.
It's a funny, it's kind of a funny scene because of how much of a dick Mark Wahlberg is.
He has no empathy for this guy living in hell, basically.
Yeah.
It's, like,
it's a good like good cop, bad cop with like Martin Sheen and Mark Wahlberg. Like Martin Sheen obviously shows a lot of empathy for him.
He ends up being more of a father figure to Leo.
Yeah.
Right.
Tying in with the father figure like identity theme of the
exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also that scene under the bridge and then eventually in the car with those three. It's one of those more where you feel more for Leo and the whole situation that he's in, as they say, all right, we realize there's an undercover. Costello's undercover in the bus police department, and Leo's just like, are you
adding more to his plate?
We're already like in such a bad situation. Now they have a guy on the inside.
Yeah.
We're already
You
at
can
such a
clearly see
disadvantage.
why he wants to get out. Yeah.
And I always love Leo's line delivery where he's like, "How come you can't arrest him for one of the million felonies I see him do? I mean, he murders someone."
And I don't know how much further this is past that, but the scene once Matt Damon leaves the movie theater with the envelope, and it starts this chase
Citizens.
between.
Yeah, a little Hitchcocky chase scene.
I really love that chase scene too, where it's kind of like the identity of Matt Damon is still a little ambiguous to DiCaprio, but he's just inching so close.
Right.
And yeah, it's all there's like the nightlife going on and everything. It's just
everyone has like hats and like
huge.
umbrellas or hoods on, so you can't see who anyone is already, and it's dark everywhere.
It just seems like a completely different scene from the rest of the movie up to that
True,
point.
yeah. It's kind of like, I don't like, there's a lot of examples, but the first one that comes to my mind is like the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood Spawn Ranch scene. It's just like a brief like little short film of tension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
And Matt Damon kills a random person.
Yeah,
in that scene.
because he thinks he's like
it's so upsetting.
Yeah,
and he just walks away. He's like, "Oh, I gotta go check the cameras at the police department to make sure I could get away with this murder."
Yeah, he does. He immediately cuts to him on the computer, like checking the cameras.
Yeah,
and a woman comes in and is like, "Hey, hon."
Yeah,
just man.
Yeah, he just straight up stabbed a guy in the middle of the street. Yeah, and acted like nothing happened.
A poor guy who's like unloading like a truck.
Yeah,
just doing his job. Yeah.
Yeah, and that scene is just so pivotal because at that point it is so vital for both sides to find who the quote rat is. On each side. It's becoming to the point where they're at a standstill until they find each other.
That's all they can do is just chase each other, literally like a cat and mouse. Not far after that, I think it's hard to really pinpoint the structure of this movie as we go on, but it kind of Jack Nicholson's at this show with some I'm assuming prostitutes, and it kind of cuts to this montage. They're doing coke,
cocaine,
very a lot of really, red lighting, and it's very stylized.
A lot of 70s influence.
Yeah, and it's kind of just like, it marks like, oh shit, he's like officially, he's numb, he's lost his mind, and it cuts to Leo.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my favorite
Jack over the shoulder
Leo and Jack in that. It's just one of my favorite cuts because he's like, does he know something? Is he lost his mind? It's just his character. You can't pinpoint what he's thinking.
It's so unpredictable.
And that scene is just a perfect segue into like the madness that Jack kind of just shows through the second half. Like with that scene, which we'll get to, and just so many scenes to come. I just always love that transition. Thelma, man.
Yeah, it is like it is so naturally done from the just really confident, young, like smart Jack, not young, but just confident, smart Jack before who's more on his toes. And then like when the heat is coming, he feels the heat coming around the corner, he puts on this just crazy coked out, just like, paranoid about his entire crew, loose cannon persona that he has throughout the rest of the movie.
How many rats do you think he's dealt with? Like there could have been, he's been at the position, like Matt Damon was maybe 10 or 11. He's been like 50 plus years he's been at this spot. And he's like, he's probably dealt with, that's why he became an FBI informant. You're like, I don't blame him, I guess, with the amount of corruption that goes on in this fictionalized Boston. But yeah, it's just, it's so crazy how he deals with stuff at that point.
Yeah, he says in that scene, he's like, in past years I would have killed everybody. I would just killed everybody, right. Basically, like
exactly.
Start his crew over. He
probably did do that multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and
decades into this business. Yeah, he He's definitely dealt with rats in the past.
Leo's again against the wall, and he
Holding his
literally
own.
and he just couldn't. He pulls it off. Like he actually convinces him that that he's like trustworthy to him.
Yeah. Because he kind of pulls what Jack pulls earlier. He's like, if you question me, I will fucking kill you. And and Jack's like, I respect that. That's a version of me that's kind of created out of our relationship. And he's like, this guy's trustworthy.
Yeah, because like, he is channeling Costello.
He's like,
when he says that, like, you question me twice, like I'll put a bullet in your head.
And you don't know if he's acting. Yeah. You don't know if he's acting or he's actually like, he's slowly becoming Costello because he's been undercover for like a year. He's playing both sides. Like he's going nuts, but also I have to stay alive. I have to put on a front.
And then that's why like Frank asks him later, he's like, could you be me? And, and like, he's like, I could be you, Frank. Yeah, I could be you. He's like, but I don't want to be you, Frank.
I also love in that scene, he's like clearly like he's so fed up with Frank's shit. He's like, you know what I love about restaurants? And Leo just like, fuck.
Yeah, he continues to like go. He wants to go on another tirade of like, Lenin said, like another one.
The
of
amount
those,
of
like,
monologues he just had to listen to.
Yeah. He's like, you know what I like about restaurants? He's like, the fucking food? What?
That's so funny.
This old man storytelling, yeah.
Yeah.
I love also that scene is there's some improvisation going on where Jack drops the gun and you can see him look off screen. He's probably looking at Marty. He's like, do I keep going? Because he like shrugs. He's like, and he looks at the gun and then he just plays the scene. And it's like, they didn't have to put that in there, but it's so, he's still in character, but he's also not
like
at the same time.
The character's being so playful.
He's like, he's just playing with the prop and it's just so, it's wild. They put that in and it works so well.
Like the fact that I brought up the other one over with the low Rolling Stones song and this one, the two Jack Leo scenes for me are both so memorable. The heat starts to build up even more.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Really,
this is when Damon's really like locked in on figuring this shit out because he's getting paranoid that he's someone's onto him, so
exactly,
he's getting more information and like I guess finding out what information the cops have.
And I guess we're getting to where like he wants him to follow Sergeant Dignam,
Martin Sheen.
Yep.
Captain Queenan is his name.
Oh, Captain! I've said the wrong name. Like
Dignam's Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, I've said the wrong name multiple times. Then, Martin Sheen is Captain Queenan.
Captain Queenan.
Yeah,
such a good name for like
Queenan.
A good-natured man like Martin Sheen. Queenan.
And he's like, I have to follow Captain Queenan.
It's
no matter how troubling it is for your fucking conscience or something like that. He says.
Yeah, and they tail him, and both crews end up crossing paths to where they basically have a shootout.
A little shootout.
Pretty upsetting death with Captain Queenan. It's very because he just started to very much become the father figure in Leo's life. You're like, oh, he's this. This is one of the best characterized characters in the movie because like he has a house. He's like, my wife made supper. I have a kid at Notre Dame. It's like really quick, but then you're like. You kind of grow to very much just feel acquainted with him, and then just snap, he's gone.
Immediately, he's gone.
Yeah, it really does.
It's pretty upsetting.
Yeah.
It's upsetting too. He's like, I will get you out of this, because he's the only one that could get Leo out, and he finally was like, I can do it. It won't take overnight. He just dies. And you're like, yeah, Leo's locked in there forever.
Yeah,
it's like what's gonna happen?
See like the glimmer of hope for Leo too. And then that just goes away, and of course
he says like, "I'll get you out of this too."
Yeah, he's just directly in front of him.
The guy who you just talked to about getting you like getting you out of this, saving your life in a way, and he literally falls to his death right in front of you. Yeah, that's. And then of course all the blood's on Leo.
It splatters on his face.
Yeah, to make it even worse.
Yeah. And then later that guy who's dying on Costello's cruise, like, where the fuck were you? Actually, that's not.
No, that was
not the dying guy.
The mosh guy.
That's the guy who's alive who
The other guy who you find out is a rat.
It's that Irish guy who Damon goes into the police like interrogation.
Yeah, he
room
pretends to be the lawyer.
Pretends to be the lawyer. He's like,
where the fuck were you?
I called you.
That's like the most authentic Irish guy in the movie by
he
far.
is. His accent is so great.
Like him and Jason Statham are probably cousins or something. The fuck were ya?
He's like, I was in the store with no signal. Once I got the signal, I got the call. It's just like so much like heat and distrust and confrontation in this whole movie. And when I'm watching a scene like that, I'm always like, oh my god, there's just so much going on. And
then the guy that was dying, like on his deathbed, tells Leo, like, yeah, I was a rat this whole time. Basically, another guy who could have helped Leo out dies right in front of him.
The amount of deflecting that like Leo's character has to do.
Like the amount he has to process too. Is like, oh, this guy was on my side the whole time. We could have helped each other. And he's dead.
Yeah. All right, so
we're very much winding down on the plot.
I mean,
at least till the confrontations that ensue.
I mean, eventually Damon calls Leo.
Oh, that's right.
And Leo's like packing all his things up. He's like,
this is done.
His whole thing is in limbo. Like everyone who was in like charge of him, like Dignam quit. Queenan is dead. So Leo's just like, I gotta get out of Dodge. Like no one knows me. In this whole thing. And so then when he gets the call, he like clearly doesn't have the full trust of who's calling him. You know, like he doesn't like, I don't know, you don't see how much he really communicates with Matt Damon, but then eventually later he's like texting him, you know, where Costello is, but you know, you still.
Yeah. They gain each other's trust by being rats to each other. And then he's like, all right, I'll go in. And while Matt Damon basically is going after Frank, that's when Leo shows up. Basically, he kind of disappears during that whole. He runs out. Remember, then I guess he goes straight to the police station from that raid.
Yeah, I love how Damon though plays this whole next selection of scenes where Baldwin's like, "Where are you at? What have you been doing?" He's like, "Hey, I got Costello now," and then he's like, "We'll take this
Queenan's guy.
I got Queenan's guy. I'm on him." He's like, "We'll take this prick tonight."
They don't even question like this guy is so functional.
Yeah, basically like, what? How did this happen? They just, and then they go after Frank, and we get like an awesome shootout in this like warehouse area amongst the cars.
Gets slaughtered, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Poor French.
Yeah, Mr. French shoots
himself in the neck or something.
Yeah.
So unpredictable if you hadn't seen it. I remember just people getting offed like just so nonchalant. Like, what is this movie becoming? But on rewatch, you kind of see just the way it's leading up and the themes of the movie. You're like, oh,
yeah,
it's that system being sort of just in circulation. It's risk taking for sure. Like we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves with that. Like, you know, like Jack he gets off Leo. It's pretty nuts how it unfolds.
Yeah, I do recall the ending when I was like younger and first seeing this. Like the whole last hour felt very just chaotic and like, okay, oh my god, everyone is dying. You know, but not fully grasping what it all meant necessarily.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just getting to Mr. French's death here.
Oh, we're lining up.
Yeah, almost perfectly.
Yeah, holy shit.
That's like, really lined
literally
up.
Literally, like when we were talking about the rat scene.
It
was the rat scene.
Yeah, pretty on point with the
very weird. Very weird.
I was even thinking about reading the subtitles to see if you guys could guess what scene we were in, but we were lining up to.
We're already on point. Yeah,
too perfectly.
That's crazy. But Jack and Damon's final words together.
Yeah,
you're about to get to that too.
Big scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just getting to like the big ass like tractors right now. Yeah.
He sits in like the tractor.
He's like, what like a son?
All that murdering, all that fucking.
Yeah.
And no sons.
Yeah.
You're an
It's
FBI informant? Are you fucking kidding me?
Fucking kidding me?
I'll grow up. He's got just blood is just like pouring out of his mouth.
Jack's still at that moment, like,
of course I talked to the
yeah,
FBI.
he's dying, and still he's like,
He's still-
yeah, don't question me.
He's still
What are you
so
talking
he's still
about?
so smooth.
Nobody knows nothing.
I didn't take anyone down who wasn't going down already.
Matt Damon kills him, and then, of course, takes credit as the hero.
So he kills him, and then the score just kind of kicks
Duh.
in. It's like, duh, duh, and he's like, and then the Damon's performance continues. He's like, I got him!
Yeah.
I got Costello!
Yeah.
And then it cuts to him immediately, like, just
They're clapping.
shaking hands with,
It's like, no.
everyone's like, and he's just like the best cop in the force. Like one of the secretaries, like, really, thank you.
Mm.
You eliminated crime from Boston.
Yeah, and then he immediately has to like then face Leo's character, who knows he's like who realizes off of just looking for some paperwork on his desk that he's actually a piece of shit. Yeah. Well, from the misspelled citizens, like another just beautiful like just storytelling thing where that scene where he's like, "Are you kidding me? Citizens, like that's how you spell it." And so they end up crossing it out, and that's how Leo recognizes the envelope.
Yeah, something seems so trivial, and then it's just like that's pretty much is like the heel turn in the movie.
Yeah, it's like one of the most key things.
Yeah.
And Leo, I love like Leo just runs away, and Matt Damon's like, "Oh shit! Like I know why." he saw this.
Nothing's holding them back anymore. Yeah. It's just like free for all.
Mm-hmm. So then he sends the tapes to Vera Farmiga at Matt Damon's house, and she listens to them. His relationship with her is now fucked. And then Leah wants to meet him with where Queenan died, basically at the
44-7 wash.
Yeah, 47 wash, whatever it was. Yeah, and it's a very intense scene of gun pointing ensues.
Yes,
just desperation and just. I have nothing left to live for but to fuck you over for fucking me over, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Leo really, like, as Damon puts it in the scene, he's like not in a good position, like, at all. Because like
I don't give a fuck.
He's like, I'm still fucking arresting you, even though I may not be an actual cop. Like, I'm still arresting you.
Anthony Anderson bursts through the door.
Yep, and it becomes this thing of trust on like who he actually trusts just because he met like Leo before, and which I think is a little much, because Leo's like, you know who I am, and just like he keeps saying that line.
They could have been friends.
They had like one scene.
It's hard to say.
They had like one scene together,
The movie's so efficient. They didn't have like maybe one scene of them getting in a beer or something.
Right.
So you just kind of have to make the leaps yourself. Still. Yeah, shit happens.
So they go down the elevator, and the guy who Matt Damon recruits to be the first guy in his crew ends up shooting Leo. And was there another guy? Just Leo.
Shoots Leo, and they shoots Anthony Anderson.
And then Damon realizes he wasn't the only guy on the inside, which is probably kind of crushing. So
you were the only guy inside?
He probably doesn't feel as special anymore after something like that.
That's the thing, that kill is almost out of spite.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm the one that controls this side. And he shoots this guy in the head.
Yeah, he feels a lot more insignificant then.
Yeah, almost like Costello is cheating on him or something. Yeah.
He's not really the man he is. Like, it's not as impressive, his resume, as it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Because Costello is that big, like he has that many guys around, And then he recommends Leo for the Medal of Merit. And it's Leo's funeral.
What was that?
What is that?
I just heard that too. Yeah, what? That was weird.
That sounded like from my headphones, right?
I don't know. Like, that was a really weird noise.
So we should take a break.
Why, you think we should check it out?
I don't know. That was weird.
You can go, just check on Mom, I guess.
I don't know what that was.
Everything's okay.
Did someone join our Zoom or something?
Yeah, we got Zoom bombed, maybe.
Yeah, it sounded like a door creaking or something.
I'm glad you guys noticed too, because I heard something and I was like, "What the?" I thought that was just like on me, like on my end. Like I just heard something in my headphones.
Did you think you heard it through our video?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. It
like,
sounded like it came
yeah,
through like your mic. Yeah,
yeah.
I could tell it
What the
wasn't like here.
I hate that.
Oh, all right. Well, glad everything's okay.
Yeah, so after that brief interruption, we were at the funeral scene of Billy Costigan Jr.
Lost again.
Damon's there.
Yeah,
Damon's
and
there.
and Vera Farmiga, who she kind of they loved each other. They kind of had her and Leo DiCaprio had like a real
Love affair.
real love affair.
And the baby could be Leo's. Because when he says, "What about the baby?" she like doesn't even glance at him. It's like, "You're not the father."
Possibly. I've never thought about it that way, but I think that.
I think it almost because their sex scene is like they don't show that Matt Damon have sex with her once. Like Leo and that.
Well, Leo
has
has like an intimate sex.
That would only
scene.
make sense. Like, oh, that pregnancy.
like to a Roger Waters song where it's like, "This is conception."
Yeah, it's a very artsy sexual scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then basically comes to Matt Damon's fate. Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, he's bringing home bagels and a dog like doesn't eat, can't even look at him. And Wahlberg just stares at him with like the most amount of hate you can see someone stare at someone and just shoots him. And it's such a pleasing death because Matt Damon's life is so absurd that you're like, all right, thank you. Like this guy's
he could have became president if he kept going. The
I
way
know,
he was raising.
Especially after like the scene before and he's at the funeral for a guy that died pretty much because of him.
Right.
Innocent undercover cop that died because of him, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the rat running
the rat
across
shot,
the railing with the golden dome.
The dome, which like he's always staring at throughout the movie. Like when he graduates from the police academy, he's like looking at it, talking about how firefighters are homos. And then when he gets that apartment, like it's a huge deal for him. Like he feels like he's made it for some reason that because he can see that building.
He just wants ownership of everything, basically.
He's got that greedy Frank mentality.
Yeah.
Great
movie.
Great movie. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we covered all The Departed.
Yeah, we didn't even. Did we even mention the Dropkick Murphys in this whole episode? Yeah, that's
shipping up to Boston.
My first iPod, I had that song on it, and it was just from the Departed soundtrack. So that's the movie. That's all I knew about it was that.
Which song is the Dropkick Murphy one?
I'm shipping up to Boston.
Whoa.
It's the super Irish song.
With the bagpipes.
Twice.
Yeah.
It's
played
it
like
plays in
and Leo's like doing coke. At least I think that's how
he's not.
Isn't
he's
he
in jail?
Isn't he in one scene like doing coke when that song plays? Like he does like a hit or something, or he's like slapping himself.
He's getting himself together.
To like go do another raid with Frank.
It plays right before the raid. Yeah. Get rid of the fucking tail.
I lost my leg. Yeah.
I wanted to see like Jack Nicholson sing along in the car. Like, we're going to fucking raid. From Boston.
And Mr. French is like, that's a nation of rats.
Yeah, we had like family friends growing up who were Scottish, and they were just obsessed with the Dropkick Murphys. Yeah, there's
watching hockey and listen to the Dropkick Murphy song.
Yeah, that's such a hockey song. Yeah,
I feel like it is. The characters in The Departed probably love hockey.
Yeah.
Just
they love those Bruins.
Random thing I might think.
Sullivan probably some hockey jerseys in his apartment.
But
Hello?
anyway, where does The Departed rank on all of our Scorsese's canon?
So I think this is for sure like an S tier Scorsese movie. You know, this is
Yeah, I always personally go in between, like whether this, I think this is the best one or whether I think it's Goodfellas. I'd say most of the time I think it's Goodfellas, but like maybe 20% of the time I'm like maybe it's The Departed because I love it so much and it's so rewatchable for me.
yeah. I think Goodfellas is for sure my number one, but this is in my top three. Top three.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think for a while it was like switching between Goodfellas, Departed, sometimes Raging Bull Taxi Driver territory, but just on rewatchability factor and enjoyment wise, like some of those early movies are pretty upsetting and pretty dark character studies. But then you watch Departed, Goodfellas, all that. Those are more weirdly enjoyable, just rewatchable films. And I always say Departed is number one. I think it's his best movie.
Yeah, I mean at times I have like I have been like, oh, Jake, like, definitely he thinks Departed's the best. Then I have confidence to also think it's the best. And so like at times, like I think I once posted my Scorsese list on the Cinebums Instagram. And I was like, ooh, but for this list, I got Departed at one. What's funny is like maybe a month or two later, I changed the list on my Letterboxd. I was like, no way, Goodfellas is number one.
Yeah,
So
it's like Goodfellas
it,
and Departed are like interchangeable for you.
They really are.
yeah, it's like that. But I am currently very set on Goodfellas. But
I think Goodfellas is set to. It's just Departed's a personal favorite. If you say best Scorsese movie, I'd say Goodfellas. I think they can be two different things.
For me, the
yeah.
Departed's right up there with Hugo for me.
Right.
All right. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's I think we covered The
We've
Departed enough. Yeah.
we've milked the teats of the Departed, yeah.